Hello, everyone. This is Ken Quigley from Keystroke, and thanks for joining us as we start our Linktivity Reseller training series that's going to be focusing on all the different Linktivity bundles that will be available through ACT. And I'll get into that in a minute, but I just want to do some housekeeping items to start with. Please keep yourself muted just to avoid because sometimes the mic noise can get very distracting. Use the chat feature if you have any questions. Vic will monitor this, and if there's any questions he feels that he needs to interrupt me with, he'll do so. Otherwise, we'll have Q&A at the end. And the final bit is that this webinar is being recorded and will be redistributed to the community and everyone that registered for this event. Okay. Our agenda is pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll show you a quick 90-second video that we did that covers a bit of what we're going to be covering. We've got the ACT Web API settings, some new changes that I think you guys will like, and then around the workspace, just kind of going through all the things that you're going to need to know to not only support your customers, but to set up your own accounts. And I want to stress here, since most of the people on this call are resellers, please do not hesitate to reach out to me for NFR accounts on any of the products that you're interested in. We definitely want to make sure that you guys know how to use these for internal use so that you can more comfortably promote them with your customers. Okay, so with that, let me just minimize this and bring my screen on over here. Okay. Okay, so this is the Linktivity.net homepage. And before we get into the back end, I wanted to kind of go through with you some of the important resources that you can find here on the front. So I did mention that there was a video. I just want to show that to you guys here. I'm not going to play it for you, even though it's 90 seconds, but it just kind of gives a nice, simple overview of the different areas that you're going to set up if you're going to set up a Linktivity account. Okay, it doesn't drill into any one of the items, but you can go to vimeo.com/873-01-4583, and that will be included on the distribution that I sent out to you, so you can reference that. Again, vimeo.com/873-58. I see we've got people that aren't muting themselves. Okay, at the mute. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the home page. Now let's kind of go through the different buttons that you should be aware of. The first one that's useful to know is the user manual. This covers pretty much all the different programs, every single section. Different sections are covered in text as well as videos, walkthrough. So, you know, this very, very well supported. Here is the update. So we have a change log that will show you each time that you log in, and I'll get to that in a minute, all the different changes that we've made. We make a lot of changes. So you can see here there was 2 updates, one to the web API configuration and workspace, another one to Linktivity in general. If you go to the October and it breaks them all down, okay, you can see there was one on the 30th, 27th, 18th, 5th, and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, we've got the blog. Blog is self-evident. I'll let you guys go through that at your leisure. Here is the drop-down for all the products. Certainly take some time to go through, learn a little bit more about the products here. The My Account is what you will log in with as you return to the website to start using some of your Linktivity products. So we're not going to get to that right away. What we're going to do is we're going to click on free trial and introduce you to the experience that people are going to have when they first start. So click on free trial. Okay, now what you're going to see is a newly designed website or web page that we actually just introduced yesterday. Okay, gives it a cleaner, completely mobile responsive page, stacks up everything here. If you okay, so you can see that it can very easily be managed from mobile or anything, but it's nice and clean. When you fill this out, okay, obviously indicate that, tell your customers to indicate if they're working with a reseller. I do want to stress this though, because we had to provide assurances to ACT as well. This whole service has been developed from the get-go to be a white labeled service that people can resell. Obviously, we're excited that ACT themselves are partnering with us, but this has always been designed to be a reseller service, so there's no keystroke branding anywhere. We've actually done both internal and external audits to make sure that the stink of keystroke is completely removed. Okay, so when they complete this, obviously click here, click on register. They're going to get an email, okay? And then that email, when they, just a very standard email, they'll click on that to verify their address, and then that will bring them to the login screen. So I'll get back to that. Okay, so what does the login screen look like? Looks like this, okay? Now, important thing to note, and I'll show you guys later, is that there is a screen where you send out invitations to workspace members. So when you are first setting up your team, you're going to send out invitations by email, and they will be invited to click on a link, and it will bring them to this page. When they click on this page, obviously they're going to think, okay, well, what's my account? Well, in this case, they're going to create a new account, okay? And again, it's going to come back to that, okay? And when they create that new account, that trial account will automatically bring them into the workspace that they were invited to join, okay? I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so now I'm going to go to this. Now, this is not my production account. This is actually linked to my APC account. Okay, this is our homepage, the internal homepage of Linktivity. Okay, you'll immediately see that all the products here are available. If you have not signed up for anything, then you will see, or any of these programs, you're going to see free trial. Okay, I'm actually in the free trial for all of them. Because I just set this account up this week. So here's all the programs. If you see free trial, you can click on learn more, and it'll explain a little bit more about the program, and you or your customers can click on this to initiate a new free trial. Now, about the free trials, all of these free trials are sequential. So you can come in and take a 2-week free trial of Link to Calendar. Let that expire, then take a new free trial of linked events, and so on and so forth. They will not overlap unless you initiate them to overlap. Okay, so you can run them sequentially. It's not a Linktivity wide 2-week trial where you've got to try all programs you're interested in within the same 2-week block. Okay, here's the general settings, API settings, and purchase subscriptions. Okay, so let's get back to here. Okay, so we've got this, confirm the email, and we get to the general settings. Now, as I said, the general settings are available here. They are also available here. So you can immediately go to summary, workspace settings, teams, my profile pendings. And then we also have, okay, those are registration details, and oops, manage my subscriptions. Okay, let me go back to my general settings. Okay. So this is my general settings. When I first log in, okay, after I've got the trial and I click on my workspace settings, I'm going to be brought to this page. Now, the first thing you're going to notice before you do any configurations is that you're going to have a red button here that says no database is configured. Okay, so I've already configured this a couple of days ago, so that isn't visible, but we'll go through how to do that setup. Okay, and then you're going to have your workspace settings, and I'm going to return to that. Okay, and then we're going to have teams and permissions, my profile pendings. But let's get to what you have to do first, because Linktivity is all about the API. Okay, now there's a couple of things here that very few people know about, and I'm going to show you some tricks here. So here is the very first API settings, and this is for both the API and your database. So one of the things that I provided ACT feedback on was that it was very difficult for people, and let me just go to my own here. Okay. It was very difficult for people to know what their database name was. Okay, so they can try to scrape it from the tab up here, or what is now easier, and this is what I'm saying people may not know about, is that you can click here, the little question mark, click on About Act, and you're going to notice here that now the database name is underlined. And if you brush your mouse across it, it will say click the copy to the clipboard, and then you can go back. And I'm just going to actually bring this up here. And you can see it will copy right into the clipboard, okay, or from the clipboard. Okay, so that's a little trick. If you've got, because remember this distribution, this promo is through through APC or for APC. So if you're at all unclear as to how to do this, you just click the little question mark. You don't know your database name, the ACT Premium Cloud customers can click on Login, click the little question mark, so on and so forth, and it will tell them how to do that. Okay. Now, if you think that's easy, watch this. So here we've got, I'm just going to remove this. Okay. And now I want to set up my my web API. This causes a lot of confusion because people often confuse the web API for the APFW URL. Because we are working and distributing this strictly through ACT LLC, we've set it up for API to have all the API addresses right here, but not just put them here for people to copy and paste. If you click on them, it automatically populates. Okay, so I know that my database is on the US server. We've got the English server. It says English only because this was actually there before we published the French APC server, which was only the week before last, but the API is the exact same. So if there's any, I think Sylvia might be on this call, they can actually use the same one. So we'll make note to remove that. Okay, so whether you're CA, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, or EU, you just simply have to click on it and we'll populate in there. And then the last step is to just click on modify and enter in your password, okay, for your database. Click on save, and then you just do save, and then click on test connections, and it will verify that you've got your API. Now, there is, we'll put over here, if your ACT database is self-hosted with ACT Connect link, please visit this page where they can, download the web API. But what we found is that some people will type in their information here and they will get an error message and they get confused and they think that there's something wrong with the service. Well, what you can do is you can actually navigate to this. You can go to Keystroke, Product Utilities, and Web API Tester, okay? And you can actually test the API here. Okay, so if you have any concern about, that particular service inside of Linktivity working, you can go here and test all of that. And this is, totally separate from Linktivity, and it will verify that information. Okay. So back to that. So we verified that. Everything is working. Okay, and now the one thing I want to make sure that people understand is that the person setting up this should be an admin, okay, and at the very least have web API permissions. If they do not have web API permissions, this is flat out not going to work, okay? So just be mindful of that. This is an API service, so anyone that you invite, you have to ensure that if they're standard users, that they've got web API permissions. Anyone on this call doesn't need that explained to them, okay? So with that, let's go to the next stage. Okay, we've covered the web APIs, okay. Oh, that's save and test. Now on my presentation, I do show here, okay, again, the address is testapi.kqc.ca. So very easy to remember, okay? Okay, so now let's get in to the meat of it, okay? And let's get into the workspace. Now, when we first developed Linktivity, everything was kind of developed for individual users. And then we realized that when we developed team products, we had to have teams or work groups that people would join. So what we did is we changed, like really completely refactored the whole membership process so that when the first user signs up, they actually set up the workspace, not just the user account, but also the workspace account. And then they set it up for other people to join, okay? Gonna get to that in a minute. So let's get to the workspace. You can click here, okay, and go down to workspaces. And here is my workspace. I'm gonna click on the cogs and we'll go through this. As I said, here is the summary. Okay, it brings you right into this workspace because there's not a whole lot to do here. You can purchase subscriptions, but we're going to stay in the trial process. Okay, so here is the workspace name. I called this Keystroke Computing's workspace. It will prompt you for names. You can overwrite them. Okay, so here's the workspace alias, Keystroke Computing 24. I can validate that to confirm that it is unique. Okay, I've already did that through the registration process. Here's the organization name. Now, I had someone concerned that they had just purchased a Linktivity product and they couldn't set up their, or they were being presented with UTC time. So here is where you can change that. And we'll just go through Eastern time, okay? Here is your date format, here's your time format, and here is your default language. We support both English and French. The French is still in beta, okay, because we haven't got 100% of it translated. There you go. Here is branding options. As you've seen, we've got little Linktivity messages in, the bottom right-hand corner of a lot of the pages, and some people really hated that. Okay, so we put in the settings, and again, this is workspace settings. We put in the settings, the option to hide that everywhere. We're fine with it. We don't care, but that is a suppressible option. Okay, now at this point, you're going to see Act integration, which is kind of a repeat of the information up here, but this is the workspace information, okay? So here, you'll see the web API URL, the database name, no login information, okay? And now you're gonna see create workspace subgroup. What that means is, as I think you guys have probably learned from previous webinars, is that you can actually create subgroups based on the individual users or the workspace. Okay, so it will be, linked to events, and then it will create subgroups for your individual events. And with this, you can actually create a primary parent group and then have all the products nested under there. So it's all organized. And this is useful if you've got an organization with multiple workspaces, and that's why you would use it. Okay, now if you've been in here before, you're going to notice an immediate change. Previously, we had a Linktivity mailer, and we set that up as a default for people to use. We didn't expect that people would use it. because it's all branded Linktivity, and people would be sending out quotes and invitations and things like that for something that was a third-party domain, so we didn't expect it to get a high amount of use. But it actually did get a high amount of use because some people had trouble getting security clearance or didn't know their email settings, and hey, this worked. Problem is that when people responded, we often got included in that, and we didn't really want to be in threads that we were not relevant to. So the important thing to note is you've got three options here. You've got SMTP, okay, which will handle any normal SMTP account. You've got Office 365, and you've got Gmail. Now these last two are configured to support what's called OAuth, okay? And when you enter that in, you put in your name. This is actually Canada Keystroke Computing is a Google alias, so I put that in, okay, and then I entered that in, and I don't have to reauthorize, so it's going to remain access granted. And then once that's completed and access is granted, I can even send a test email. Okay. Now it says here we recommend using a general purpose email, like no reply at such and such. Here's the thing. This is going to be your workspace email settings. So without anything else, if you've got automated functions and things like that that will go out, it's going to go out in this, okay? But the moment that each of your users sets up their profile, they're going to be able to set up their own email settings. So let's say Vic, if he's sending out a quote, he doesn't have to send it out as me, he can send it out as himself. So this is where he can put in his own profile, okay? In terms of the avatar image again is at the workspace level, okay? So we can put this in, and this will be here for any workspace level branding, okay? Recommend square image just for best fit. Okay, let's scroll down. Okay, again, we've got none, SMTP. Now, if you put in none, okay, then don't expect to send out any emails, okay? Here, and if I click on Gmail, okay, access granted, and I'm good, okay? Now, PayPal integrations. Right now, the only online service that we've got for receiving payments, which is specifically relevant to, we've actually got 3 different programs. Link to Calendar Team Edition allows people to book your time and pay for it at the same time. So people like, groomers, tradesmen, things like that, they can actually post their availability and people can book and pay for it, simultaneously. So that's a great option. If you use Link to Events, you can actually, the Team Edition allows you to not only promote an event, but charge for it at the same time. Link to Quotes is obviously a very clear example where you're sending out a quote. If it gets accepted, that's the perfect time to prompt people to pay because they've just accepted the quote and they're most enthusiastic to buy, okay? However, you've got to present offline payment options. So this is where we say, please mail a check payable to Keystroke, blah, blah, blah. And you put this in and they know how they'll be presented with that information for offline payment. For PayPal integration, there's 2 different options. And we actually had to develop our own Linktivity integration method for PayPal because the standard one was fairly easy setup, but the new PayPal checkout, when you click on here, okay, required a different kind of authentication. We had to build an app for that, okay? And then when you're in sandbox mode, that's allowing you to test it internally before you put it into production, okay? Now, teams and permissions. This is something that people, actually, when you're looking at an empty account, that is less interesting. So let me show you what an account looks like with actual licensing. 1 second. Okay, and okay, let me bring this over. Okay, misclicked, general settings. teams and permissions. Okay, so here you can see all the different users, okay? And at the top of every single column, it's going to show you the amount of licenses you've used and the amount of licenses that you have available, okay? So here is where you've got all of your users in your team, and here's where you can assign them. And if I click on Modify Access, I can see Shannon. I'm going to give her access to link. Oh, I've only got one here, so I can't give her any more. Let's see. I'm going to give her access to link to mail, and I'll give it to Sylvia as well. Okay, and then I can click on Save, and boom, now that she's got it. Okay, but I've got to have enough to spare at the top. Now, if there is someone that I want to add to the team that is not on the team, I put down here, and I'm going to say, let's say, okay. Okay. And I'm going to send out an invitation. She doesn't have to be a Linktivity member, okay? I can decide if she's going to be just a regular member or an administrator. I'm going to send out an invitation, okay? And that invitation has gone out. She will get an email with a link that's going to bring her to that login page. And the moment that she says, well, I don't have a login, let me sign up for a trial. The moment she signs up for a trial, okay, and logs in, you can see here, it says Zdena Nagyeva pending, and it will let her in, okay? That's it, and then she will, at that point, I'll have the ability as the administrator to add additional licenses to her, okay? Vic, any questions at this point? Victor?
No questions, sorry. I had mute on.
I fully approve of you keeping the mute on there. Okay, so let's go to the top. Okay, so the My Profile. Now, one of the things that I mentioned about the My Profile is that the workspace settings allow you to set up your general mailer settings, but when you're sending out things like quotes and other invitations, you're not going to want to send them out as the administrator, you're going to want to send them out as yourself. So let's kind of go through this. So you go into the My Profile, it's automatically going to include, your name, your company. This is where you're going to put in, title and contact email. Contact email is very important, especially with Link to Calendar, because it's going to be used in the ICS file. You're going to put in your phone number and you're going to put in your signature. Now, why is all of this information important? It's because there's a number of places in the different programs that have fields, merge fields that you can insert in. Things like signature, things like title and that, and you can add that in, and all of this information will then merge in. Okay, now you saw under the workspace settings that it had the API, the database name and the API, but it didn't have the login settings. This is where your login settings would go, okay? And now you can sit here and say, okay, I want my individual, okay? You can use the workspace settings or you can use your own one. Obviously, we would encourage anyone to send it out using their own settings. In this case, I used Office 365, my Ken Quigley at kqc.ca, and I've got access granted, okay? Now, the last one is pending emails. What the heck is pending emails? Well, there's all kinds of automated functions under the whether you are in Link to Quotes and it's sending out automated quote reminders, or in Link to Events, sending out event reminders, Link to Calendar, sending out meeting reminders, things like that. There's all kinds of things that will system generate emails. If for any reason, okay, if they're queued, they will appear under here until they're scheduled to go out. If they're queued because there is invalid email information, okay, then this will sit here for 7 days and then it will just drop off. Okay, so this is really important. Check this from time to time just to make sure that everything is working as it should, because this is, this is where it will get queued up and then eventually drop off. I see we've got a question, so I just want to make sure. Okay. Robert Purdy wants to know, why isn't this called Linktivity for ACT? I don't know. Maybe I just, ran into a creative block. Okay. Or I wanted to try something different since everything else is for ACT suffix. Okay. So now we've covered the general settings. Okay. Let's go to the managed subscriptions. If we go to the managed subscriptions here, okay, and we can go to the managed subscriptions, and I'm going to actually stay in my production account so you can actually see real data. But if you click on manage subscriptions, it's going to bring you to these three options. It's going to be my inventory, the option to purchase, and the option to redeem. Okay, let's go through a couple of things. So this subscription inventory is a list of all the subscriptions that you've paid for, okay, that you have yet to assign. Okay, so you've bought them and you haven't assigned them. So these are available to pass on. Okay, but you should obviously, I've added all of these things on the 14th, so you should assign them as quickly as you can. Okay, these are all the assigned subscriptions that I've got. So all the ones that I've created and assigned for internal or external use. These are a list of my assigned ones, and I can see here any that I'm managing that are coming up due. Okay. This is largely a reseller section. Okay. If you are purchasing all of your bundled licenses through ACT, and I want to be really, really clear here, we do not make the bundles, the team bundles, available here because they are available exclusively through ACT. Okay, that is our distribution agreement. So they're not available here. And when you purchase them there, you obviously get the tier credits that they talked about, where it counts towards your ARR quota and it counts towards your new booking requirement. Okay, so definitely a lot of incentives to go through here. Now, initially, you may want to buy something outside of the bundles, and that is an option here. Okay, but here is a really, really important but, because this is going to cause some confusion if you don't pay attention here. If you get a license key from ACT and you redeem it, this purchase option disappears. So all of these things that you see here will be invisible the moment that you register an ACT bundle license key. Okay, why did we do that? Well, we want all renewals and all additional purchases to go back through ACT for both their benefit and your benefit. If you get someone to purchase one of these things, and then they turn around and have the ability to buy a la carte outside of that, and you're not registered as a reseller for that, then you're out of luck. We make money, you guys don't. You don't get any credit for it, and nor does ACT. So what we've done is all the keys that we've provided them, the moment that they are redeemed, we'll suppress this purchase section. Okay. Until that time, let's show you how that works. So here you are, you're going to immediately notice if you are a registered reseller, it says you are eligible for a 20% discount rate across all Linktivity products. Final discounted prices will be displayed during checkout. So let's go through the checkout process. $60 per year per user. Now, I don't put in all the team options here because that'll be available when you click on purchase. So we click here. At this point, you can see that you've got team, standard, okay? You can see that here's the taxes and such. Here's the workspace, okay? Here is any promo code. We're not issuing promo code. I am purchasing this as an inventory item, okay? So this will go into your inventory. And here is the guideline for getting quantity discounts, okay? 6+, 11+, so on and so forth, okay? Now this doesn't apply to any of the bundles, okay? But if you're buying individual items that are not available through ACT, then here are some of the pricing guidelines. And we've got some frequently asked questions here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you basically click here and you click on checkout and you can see your price here, okay? say select the work is already scheduled to hire. Okay. Okay. So I can't add anything. I can't add this because it's a standard edition here. And you just saw where this kind of prevented me from buying something I was ineligible for. My account, because this is my production account, is already linked to a team edition of Link to Calendar. This applies for all the team products, which I think we've now got 4 of. So if I tried to buy a standard edition, it just blocked me. Okay, so this prevents people from buying things that they can't really use. Okay, I'm not going to go through the full checkout process. It's fairly self-explanatory. Okay, but this is all the guidelines that you need. You go through the checkout process. What is important to note, okay, is that when you purchase this, it will then show up on that Teams and permissions screen as available licenses. So if you purchase this and you apply it to the workspace, okay, and then when you're done, you go back here to workspaces, you're going to notice that you'll have one more of whatever you purchased. So instead of 4 of 6, it would say 4 of 7, 7 of 33, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, and let's see, go to inventory. So down here, we've got the home screen, user settings, this is user registration information, which you can also get up here. Manage subscription, let's go back to my inventory. Okay, now the last thing in this section is redeem, okay? Now, redeem is only for vouchers. As you saw in the purchase process, when you buy something and you check out, it will automatically assign it to your available licenses under the teams and permissions. However, if you are purchasing it through ACT, you are going to get a license key, okay? And that license key we call a voucher, and you simply copy and paste it in here. That little video that I showed you walks you through that process, okay? And you will notice here, by the way, every single page that you're on has contextual help that's related to the page that you're on, okay? Now, the only thing that I'm going to say to be mindful of is make sure that you apply it to the right workspace. Okay, if you apply it to the wrong workspace, that's less of an issue nowadays, quite honestly, because obviously one of my account was one of the original ones. Now most everyone starts off and they will only have the workspace to assign it to. Okay, because I was originally part of the first few accounts, you know, that I've got 2 here. Okay, but they can stack them in. They can put in as many license keys as they can. There's not multi-seat license keys. So if one of your customers orders, say, 5 link to quotes, then they will get 5 keys. You paste them into here. Okay, click on validate. And I can actually, I'm just going to show you, just generate. This is an admin tool that you guys will not see. Okay, and I'm just going to add a link to list. And I'm going to click on generate. And I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to paste in here. And now I'm going to click on validate. I'm going to see that I've got 1 year eligibility. It's asking me to confirm. Here's the number of vouchers, the quantity, everything else. And now I'm going to click on confirm. Now, at that point, I can go to the product I just purchased, or I can go to manage workspace, click on teams and permissions, and immediately see that I've got another link to list. So I can click on here and I can say Shannon because she's the employee of the month. I can now provision her with link to list. Okay. The only other thing that I'm really going to mention is that, again, whatever page you're on, you're going to see this little question mark, and you've got access to all the menus. And if you go into link to quote setup, okay, team edition. You can drill down, and like I said, some of them will have videos, some of them won't, but this covers fairly detailed descriptions of everything. Okay, and that is it. That is our walkthrough of the general setup and configurations of Linktivity. The next few weeks are going to be much more detailed in terms of product specific information. Next week, we're kind of leading off with our best product, which is Link to Quotes. I had someone ask me recently, can this replace QuoteWorks? I love QuoteWorks and I built my business on QuoteWorks and I'll never say anything bad about them. But if you're an ACT user, this is better, okay? And I can tell you the top 2 ACT resellers in the world use Link to Quotes all day, every single day, and that's us and Josh with ACT Today. It is a much better, deeper integration with the product that allows you to do a lot of functions faster, better, and certainly a lot more economically. Okay, so Vic, any questions? Or actually, we can just open up.
Open up the floor, but nothing in the chat.
Okay.
Or that I can see anyway.
Okay, anyone have any questions about the purchase process through ACT that their reselling is going to start, I believe, on December 7th. Okay, and it's going to be it's not going to be able to be bought on margin because they want to make sure that when you provision it for an account, okay, it is applied to an APC account because this is an APC exclusive deal. They're obviously, I think, justly concerned that people would just buy them on margin and use them on any accounts, regardless of if they're APC. Okay. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, I want to thank everyone for their time. We're really excited about this partnership. If you guys have been following us, we have been building this entire ecosystem for years, okay? And we've now got, link to calendar, link to events, link to forms, link to list, link to mail, link to quotes, link to shrink, link to surveys, and link to sync. This is really a complete ecosystem that all surrounds and enhances ACT, and I think by extension, the user experience. So I think once you get people involved and you start testing it for yourself, you're going to see how powerful these programs are and how much it enhances and modernizes the ACT experience and how seamlessly it integrates with ACT Premium Cloud, ACT Desktop, just through the API. And I can tell you that as high praise as I have for QuoteWorks, one of the biggest and most consistent feedbacks that we get is that there's a fairly steep learning curve. People with Link to Quotes typically are using it in the first day with little or no training. Okay.
Hey, Ken, I've got a question.
Is this Steve McCandlish?
Yes, it is. Go Broncos.
Fantastic.
Have we got a solid process for signing customers up and getting all this done properly so we get credit?
Yeah, so
from ACT?
I think you're going to get more direction from ACT on that because that's really, they're the distribution point through them. So I'm just going to actually refer people with questions on that back to them. So certainly, email channel execs. I would wait a week or so just because we thought initially that we would be starting the distribution this week, but we were advised that just the process of entering it in to their e-commerce suite is fairly extensive, and so we'll be giving them quite a few license keys, and they just want to make sure they've got enough runway to launch it effectively. So I would just wait for more details from them on that. I have really nothing to comment on in terms of their distribution process. Okay, I see there was another question here. Go Eagles, ignore. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will tell you the subsequent sessions will probably take the full hour. This is the introductory one. Maybe not the most exciting one because this is all kind of like one-time setup things that you're not likely to use on a day-to-day basis. When we get into the other products, you're going to be learning stuff that you and your customers will be using every single day. And if you are in the business of selling ACT, and if you're in the business of selling add-ons, please reach out to me, ken@kqc.ca, and ask me for an NFR. I'll definitely hook you up, because once you start using this, you'll be hooked, and obviously better equipped for you to proselytize this to your customers. Okay, so with that said, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great weekend.